Why would anyone walk away from being a Jedi? We were trained to be keepers of...
Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. This time, Star Wars The Clone Wars 2008, exploring one of the finest Star Wars animated series. Star Wars is unarguably one of the best movie franchises ever created, and it has also given birth to various spin-offs and animated TV shows. Star Wars The Clone Wars is one of the finest animated series in the Star Wars galaxy, and it extensively covers a lot of events in the extended universe. The series first aired on TV in 2008, and it followed the events of Episode 2, Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Today, we'll explore this show in detail and tell you everything about Star Wars The Clone Wars. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What is the show all about? Star Wars The Clone Wars was created by George Lucas, and it was a computer-animated television series set in the Star Wars galaxy. The Clone Wars events took place over 3 years between Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The show followed the conflict between the Jedi Order's Galactic Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. This confederacy was led by Count Dooku, who intended to bring together various planetary systems and unite them against the Republic. Dooku worked under the orders of Darth Sidious, who was actually using Dooku as a pawn in his master plan of eliminating the Jedi Order and replacing them with a new governing state. A Clone Wars feature film was released 2 months before the show, and the series then aired on Cartoon Network in 2008. While the movie wasn't a huge hit, the Clone Wars series started on a triumphant note, and it was Cartoon Network's most watched series premiere with around 3.9 million views. While the show covered a lot of events in the Star Wars galaxy, it was not in chronological order, and there was not a lot of continuity between the seasons. Nevertheless, The Clone Wars received a lot of praise from critics, and it was also nominated for various awards such as the Daytime Emmy Awards and the Annie Awards.
I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi.
Exploring the first few episodes and the overall story arc. The show kicked off with an episode titled Ambush, wherein Jedi Master Yoda came across Count Dooku on a secret mission. The episode begins with a narrator explaining the background of the series, and he states that the galaxy is divided by war. Both the Galactic Republic and the Separatists are desperate to convince more planets to side with them, and the Jedi Master Yoda sets out to the dried coral moon of Rugosa on a mission for the same. He intends to meet King Katunko of Todaria and hopes to convince him to allow the Galactic Republic to build a base in his territory. While King Katunko waits for Yoda to arrive, Count Dooku sends one of his followers, Asajj Ventress, to visit the king. Ventress arrives with a hologram of Count Dooku, who tries to manipulate the king into siding with the Separatists instead. In the meantime, Dooku's forces ambush Yoda's ship, and the Jedi Master decides to leave in an escape pod with 3 clones. King Katunko starts wondering if it would be better to side with the Separatists, while Ventress points out that Yoda's warship has also disappeared from their system, and that this is a sign of the Republic's weakness. At the same time, Yoda contacts the king through a holographic call, and the king tells Yoda about Dooku's offer to provide them with security in the time of war. While Yoda tries to negotiate with Katunko, Ventress challenges Yoda to a fight in order to win the Toydarian alliance. She suggests that she'll send her droids after Yoda, and he needs to escape them in order to win this challenge. Yoda agrees to this proposal, and King Katunko decides to side with the Republic only if they manage to escape the droids and show up in Toydaria before nightfall. Yoda prepares for this challenge while Ventress sends a huge army of droids with large tanks. While Yoda and his team of clones make their way through the coral forest, the droids struggle to take these tanks through the forest, and they're forced to venture inside on foot. Yoda and the clones then defeat these droids by ambushing them in small numbers, but they're forced to retreat when one of the clones, Lieutenant Fire, ends up getting injured. Yoda uses his lightsaber to keep the droids away, while he orders the clones to find a resting spot. Ventress and King Katunko watch from afar while Yoda and the clones rest inside a cave and devise a new plan. While the clones are discouraged, Yoda cheers them up and imparts some wisdom about their individuality and how they must play to their strengths and try to outsmart the droids. They prepare to fight the droids with renewed energy, but Yoda orders the clones to stay out of sight and let him handle the droids. The Jedi Master uses his lightsaber to cut the entire droid force into pieces, and an enraged Ventress sends more forces to get rid of Yoda. Commander Thire gets rid of the rest of the droid forces by aiming their last rocket at them. King Katunko is quite impressed with the way Yoda handles the situation and decides to side with the Galactic Republic. When Katunko informs Dooku that he won't ally with the Separatists, Dooku is enraged with the king and he orders Ventress to him. However, Yoda intervenes at the last minute and protects the king, who happily agrees to host a Republic base on Todaria. In the next episode, titled Malevolence, the Galactic Republic faces various threats from the Separatists in the form of secret weapons and warships. The episode begins with Jedi Master Plo Koon and Clone Commander Wolf traveling in the Triumphant when they spot the Separatist ship Malevolence in the Abrigado planetary system. Plo Koon immediately tries to establish contact with Anakin and Ahsoka and asks them for help in dealing with the Malevolence. However, Anakin tells them that they have orders to protect the Bith system and they can't abandon their position. In the meantime, Count Dooku and General Grievous travel in the Malevolence and sabotage the Triumphant's communications systems. They shoot ion cannons at the Republic attack cruisers, and Plo Koon and Commander Wolf somehow manage to flee in an escape pod before being caught up in the thick of things. While these two get away, Count Dooku sends a few pod hunters and orders them to kill any survivors of the attack. Meanwhile, Anakin and Ahsoka inform the Jedi Order about their conversation with Plo Koon. While Yoda, Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, and Palpatine advise Anakin not to venture into the Abrigado system to look for survivors, Anakin does not listen to them. He leaves his fleet behind in the Bith system, and his Padawan Ahsoka also joins him on his journey to the Abrigado system in a starship named Twilight. Obi-Wan and the others figure out that Anakin has abandoned his fleet, and they issue orders for Anakin to return to his post. As the scene returns to the debris field, Plo Koon and his men discover that the pod hunters are attacking the escape pods and killing their men one by one. Koon and the surviving clones fight the pod hunters, which alerts General Grievous and Count Dooku about their survival. While Plo puts up a good fight, Anakin and Ahsoka also arrive on the scene and they rescue the survivors. However, General Grievous also shows up in Malevolence, and Anakin quickly turns off the Twilight systems in order to avoid being detected by enemy forces. However, they forget to turn off the medical droid in their ship, and General Grievous spots Twilight. He then shoots an ion cannon at the ship, but the Twilight manages to escape this shot by activating a hyperspace jump. They manage to escape while General Grievous tells Dooku that the Republic now knows their secret weapon and ion cannons. Dooku is quite disappointed by this, and he soon takes his leave and contacts his master to update him on their mission's details. In the meantime, the Twilight safely reaches Anakin's abandoned fleet, and Commander Wolf expresses his gratitude toward Anakin. They then contact the Jedi Council and inform them about the Separatists' secret weapon. In the next episode, titled Shadow of Malevolence, the Separatist warship continues to stir up trouble for the Republic. General Grievous continues to use Malevolence to attack the Jedi fleet cruisers, and Anakin finally decides that he needs to get rid of this ship. He comes up with a plan to use the Y-Wing bombers to destroy the warship's central bridge, which would kill General Grievous and also eliminate the Malevolence at once. Ahsoka and Plo Koon both think that this plan is too risky, and the starship pilots also think that this plan is too ambitious. While Ahsoka and Koon try to reason with Anakin, he shrugs off their concerns and prepares for the attack on Malevolence. In the meantime, the Separatist warship targets another supply convoy that had been traveling in the Outer Rim. They fire the ion cannons at these ships and even destroy them after moving on to their next mission. Count Dooku contacts General Grievous and tells him that their next target will be the Khalida Shoals Medical Center. When the Galactic Republic gets wind of this plan, Admiral Wolf Yularen immediately tries to contact the medical center and gets in touch with one of the physicians, Nala Se. Yularen warns her of a possible attack, and Nala states that they don't have enough time to evacuate 60,000 patients in such little time. In the meantime, Anakin and Ahsoka get ready to leave for Khalida Nebula, and the Jedi Master Plo Koon also insists on joining them. While Obi-Wan takes a longer route to reach the nebula, Anakin decides to lead his troops through a hyperspace jump. They finally reach the nebula, and Plo Koon soon realizes that they are taking a shortcut that passes through Balmorra Run. The Balmorra Run used to be a smuggler's route, and it was filled with dangers such as the giant Nibre mantas. Meanwhile, Nala Se decides that they need to evacuate the stable patients first before they start evacuating the critically injured ones. The scene also shifts to General Grievous, who receives a message from Count Dooku. Dooku tells him about the information he's received from Lord Sidious and warns him about the Republic strike force to tackle their attack. While General Grievous is confident about their ship's strength, Dooku advises him not to underestimate Anakin Skywalker before signing off. On the other side, Anakin and the others finally end up in the midst of an attack by the Nibre mantis, and they struggle to pass through this shortcut. Anakin leads the other troops and asks them to follow his ship in a straight line until they make it out of the Balmorra Run. They somehow escape without suffering major damage while the medical station manages to evacuate half of the patients. The Republic relies on Anakin to catch General Grievous before he reaches Khalida, and Anakin soon spots the Malevolence warship. They prepare to attack the ship while General Grievous orders his forces to shoot ion cannons at the fleet of ships. Anakin loses half of the Y-Wing's fleet of ships in this attack, and he is then forced to devise a new plan while Grievous heads to the medical center. Grievous charges the warship's mega ion cannon while Anakin and his Shadow Squadron shoot fire at the ship and cause the attack to backfire on the Separatist ship. This blast also damages Malevolence's hyperdrive, and General Grievous struggles to stabilize his ship. In the meantime, Obi-Wan and Admiral Yularen also appear at the scene, and the Republic ships overpower the Malevolence. General Grievous finally has no choice but to back off and return to the Separatist space. The Republic is finally relieved that the medical center did not suffer any damages, and Nala Se gratefully congratulates Anakin and the Shadow Squadron. While Anakin is relieved that the medical center was not harmed, he mourns the loss of his team members who died in the attacks caused by the ion cannons. The episode ends with Anakin leaving to prepare for the battle, as he's determined to get rid of the Malevolence once and for all. In the next episode, titled Destroy Malevolence, Anakin moves ahead with his plan to destroy the warship by blowing up the ship's bridge. In the meantime, General Grievous realizes that his ship has suffered great damage, and he takes a while to figure out his next move. He gets some help from Darth Sidious and Count Dooku, who direct the Republic Senator Padme Amidala to the ship since she's traveling with the humanoid robot known as 3PO, or C-3PO. While Amidala was under the assumption that she was heading for a meeting with the intergalactic banking clan, she was pulled into the Malevolence warship by using a tractor beam. Amidala manages to alert the Republic of this situation, and even assures them to continue with their attacks on General Grievous's ship. However, Anakin decides to cease all attacks until Amidala safely escapes from the ship. Grievous uses this as a chance to continue repairing the Malevolence, and he orders his soldiers to repair the ship's hyperdrive. In the meantime, Amidala rigs her ship's engines to explode, and she hopes this will kill Grievous when he comes on board to capture her. Amidala escapes while Grievous enters her rigged ship, but he somehow manages to survive the explosion. He then sends his forces to look for Amidala and her accomplice, 3PO, who get in touch with the Republic and share their location with them. In the meantime, Anakin decides to lead a rescue mission along with Obi-Wan and R2, and the three of them leave in the twilight to save Amidala. Their ship latches onto the Malevolence by using an emergency airlock, and they somehow manage to sneak in, undetected. Anakin manages to locate Amidala while Obi-Wan looks for 3PO. Amidala warns them that the Separatists are very close to repairing the ship's hyperdrive, and that they're running out of time. Obi-Wan sets out to destroy the hyperdrive while Grievous locates him and sends his droids to keep the hyperdrive safe. While the Malevolence once again gains the ability to perform hyperspace jumps, Anakin and Amidala find the ship's bridge and destroy all the main computer systems. They also destroy all the droids and make a swift escape before anybody traces them down. In the meantime, Obi-Wan finds himself face to face with General Grievous, and the two end up in a duel. He somehow finds his way back to Twilight, and the entire group escapes swiftly, while Grievous tries to follow them. However, Grievous soon realizes that Anakin had rigged the ship's navicomputer, and the Malevolence ends up crashing on a moon. Even though Grievous survives this attack, he suffers a huge loss after losing Malevolence, which also gets him in trouble with Count Dooku. While the Galactic Republic emerges victorious in this fight, General Grievous decides to cut all communications with Dooku, and he feels shameful after losing his ship. In this way, the first season of the show was mostly centered around the various battles between the Galactic Republic and the Separatists. The show's storyline was not in chronological order, and it often went back and forth in time across seasons. Season 2 was titled Rise of the Bounty Hunters, and it mostly revolved around various bounty hunter characters such as Boba Fett, Cad Bane, and so on. The third season focused primarily on the character arcs of Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, and it also explores Anakin's journey toward becoming the Chosen One. This season was titled Secrets Revealed, and it also focused on the Republic Senate's involvement in the Clone Wars and how these wars severely impacted various planetary systems in the galaxy. The fourth season, Battle Lines, was in continuity with the third season, and it focused on the 501st Legion's attempts to act independently and Obi-Wan's plan to fake his death to capture Chancellor Palpatine. The 5th season covered various major arcs, and it was titled Death and Destruction. It covered the Republic's attempts to free the planet of Onderon from the Separatists and their attempts to ally with a group of rebels in order to do so. This season also focused on a group of Jedi younglings as they tried to prove their mastery, and it even marked the return of the deadly Darth Maul. This season ended with Ahsoka's decision to abandon the Jedi Order after she was wrongly blamed for bombing the Jedi Temple. The last 2 seasons were mostly in chronological order and revolved around various story arcs connected with Order 66. Darth Sidious activated this order, which caused the clone troopers to become brainwashed as they turned against their own generals. The last season also showed the Siege of Mandalore, wherein Darth Maul launches an attack on Mandalore while Ahsoka returns to the Republic and works alongside Rex to capture Maul. Eventually, Darth Maul was captured by the Republic, and Ahsoka even managed to undo the effects of Order 66 on Rex. Maul somehow managed to escape, and he even destroyed the Tribunal's hyperdrive, which caused the vessel to crash on a nearby moon. While Maul got away, Ahsoka fought the remaining clones, and the series ended with Ahsoka and Rex parting ways after they buried all the dead clones. Ahsoka even leaves one of her lightsabers behind, and the show ends with a scene in the future of the Galactic Empire, wherein Darth Vader arrives on the moon and recovers Ahsoka's lightsaber. Marvelous verdict. A great addition to the Star Wars legacy. Star Wars: The Clone Wars was a well-executed show that developed beautifully over the years. The show started on a light note, and the storylines eventually grew more complex as each season touched upon more advanced storylines than the previous one. It certainly managed to catch the audience's attention, and one could notably observe the characters' development through the story arcs. The writers did an exceptionally great job at the storytelling, and the voice actors also did a great job at bringing the characters to life. Fans especially appreciated the voice acting done by Matt Lanter, James Taylor, and Sam Witwer for the characters of Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul, respectively. The show also introduced some expanded universe storylines, filling the gaps between various lesser-known story arcs that concerned numerous characters in the extended Star Wars galaxy. While the Clone Wars feature film received some criticism for its animation, television series CGI animation received a lot of praise and was quite well developed. While the show started on a good note, it progressively kept getting even better and turned out to be a delightful watch right up to the series finale.
Remember, there can only be
some memorable characters from the show. Anakin Skywalker was a Jedi Knight of the 501st Legion, and he often went on missions with his master Obi-Wan and accomplice Ahsoka Tano. Anakin was always committed to saving anyone who was in trouble, and he often even ignored direct orders and abandoned his position in order to go and take care of other things. The show foreshadowed Anakin's eventual fall to the evil side right from the start, and some scenes also included future visions that showed him as Darth Vader. In the show's finale, Anakin finally appears as Darth Vader after the Tribunal ship is destroyed during the Order 66 story arc. Obi-Wan Kenobi was a general in the Clone Wars, and he often worked along with Anakin to fight the Separatists. He was quite diplomatic, and he was even known as a negotiator due to his ability to resolve conflicts without resorting to war. Ahsoka Tano was one of the primary characters in the 6th season of the show, and she worked as the Padawan commander of the 501st Legion in the Grand Army. She learns the way of the Jedi with some help from Anakin, and also receives some training while working with a clone trooper named Captain Rex. She eventually ends up leaving the Jedi Order after being falsely accused of an explosion and murder, but she finally returns in the last season to lead a fight against Darth Maul. Yoda appears as a general of the Jedi Knights in this series, and he even fought against Count Dooku to defend many planets. He once fought with Mace Windu to defend Coruscant when the Separatists attacked them. Yoda was always patient in dire situations and encouraged the clone warriors when their spirits were down. He was a source of wisdom and comfort to the Republic, and the clone troopers often relied on his judgment in battle. The clone troopers were artificially produced soldiers who were created to serve the Galactic Republic in the Clone Wars. They worked under the command of the Jedi Order, but were eventually intercepted by Darth Sidious when he issued Order 66. These clones were genetically engineered to age at twice the speed of humans, enabling them to mature quite early. Many clone troopers were given different individual personalities, and some of them even had their own story arcs. The clone trooper named Fives later discovered that all those soldiers' brains were implanted with chips that would compel them to kill their masters when the word Order 66 is said out loud. This order caused the clone troopers to believe that the Jedi were traitors, and they then set out to execute their own masters. Count Dooku was the political leader of the Separatists, who were concerned with bringing together different planetary systems against the Republic. He also worked with the terrorist group Death Watch to stir up trouble in Mandalore so that the Republic would eventually send some military there. Dooku had two loyal companions named Grievous and Ventress, but he was later forced to get rid of Ventress to prove his loyalty to Darth Sidious. This does not work out in Dooku's favor, as Ventress somehow survives the attack and then tries to kill him. Dooku was eventually killed by Anakin, and he did not appear in the show's finale season. Darth Sidious was also known as Palpatine, and he was the main villain who orchestrated the Clone War from behind the scenes. While Palpatine presented himself as the Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic, he had an evil side and went by the name Darth Sidious. He kick-started the Clone Wars by ordering Dooku to kidnap Jabba the Hutt's son Rota, and then putting the blame on the Republic. Darth Maul, also known as Maul, was a mighty Sith Lord who worked against the Jedi Order. He was a recurring villain in various seasons of the show, and he played a huge role in the last few seasons. Initially, Maul starts by building a criminal empire in Season 5, and he then orchestrates Pre-Vizsla's rise to power in Mandalore. After Vizsla betrays him, Maul beheads him and then takes over Mandalore. He also rules the Shadow Collective, which includes the Black Sun, the Pike of the Syndicate, and Crimson Dawn. Ahsoka finally defeats him in a lightsaber duel and imprisons him, but he somehow manages to escape.
Begin your attack.
Conclusion. The Clone Wars were a wonderful addition to the Star Wars franchise, and it filled a lot of gaps between various events in the galaxy. The show had a great storyline that managed to capture the true essence of Star Wars, and it's a must-watch for fans of the Star Wars franchise. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.